Welcome to The Explainer. All right, today we're diving into a topic that sounds like it's straight out of science fiction, quantum computing. We're going to break down what it is, where it's all headed, and the incredibly high-stakes race to invest in its future. Let's jump right in.
So what is it that makes a quantum computer so different from the phone in your hand or the laptop on your desk? It really all boils down to one single fundamental building block.
Okay, so every computer you've ever touched, right? It runs on bits. And a bit is super simple. It's like a light switch. It's either on, a 1, or it's off, a 0. That's it. But quantum computers, they use something called a qubit. And the best way to think about a qubit is like a spinning coin. Because of this wild quantum principle called superposition, it's not just heads or tails. It can be heads, it can be tails, or it can be both at the very same time. And that one little difference, well, that's what unlocks an absolutely mind-boggling amount of computational power.
So you've got all this incredible power. What's the point? What's the end game here? Well, the entire industry is in a flat-out race to achieve one thing, something called quantum advantage.
Now, you've probably heard the term quantum supremacy thrown around. And yeah, Google technically hit that milestone back in 2019. They proved a quantum machine could solve one very specific, very abstract problem way faster than any supercomputer. But honestly, that was more of a proof of concept. The real prize, the thing that's going to change the world, is quantum advantage. And that's all about using these incredible machines to solve practical, real-world problems, things in medicine, in finance, that are just completely impossible for the computers we have today.
And you know, this stuff didn't just pop out of nowhere. The journey to get here has been a long one. We're talking over a century of mind-bending science, built piece by painstaking piece by some of the smartest people in history.
It really all kicked off with Max Planck in his quantum theory way back in 1900. Then you jump forward to 1982, and the legendary physicist Richard Feynman is the one who first dreams up the idea of a quantum computer. Then you get these huge leaps, like Peter Shor's algorithm, which was a bombshell because it showed these machines could theoretically crack the encryption that protects almost everything online today. And from there, you see the first commercial machines hit the market, leading all the way up to Google's big supremacy claim. You can see how each step was absolutely crucial.
So that brings us to right now, the present day. Experts have a name for this period, the Noisy Intermediate Scale Quantum Era, or NISQ for short. Now, noisy is the key word there. It means these quantum computers are still pretty sensitive and prone to making errors. But despite that, this era is just defined by one thing: unbelievable growth and a ton of investment.
And when I say growth, I mean it's explosive. We're talking a projected compound annual growth rate of nearly 42% all the way through 2030. Let me just say that again, 42%. The interest and, more importantly, the money flowing into this field is it's staggering.
And here's what that 42% growth actually looks like in dollars and cents. The market is expected to jump from just under $3 billion today to over $20 billion by 2030. I mean, think about that. That's a more than 7-fold increase in just a handful of years. It's wild.
And this whole boom is being fueled by an absolute tidal wave of investment. Get this, in the first quarter of 2025 alone, these companies raised $1.25 billion. You've got the huge players, IBM, Google, Microsoft, all locked in this incredibly fierce race to build bigger, better, and more stable quantum processors.
Okay, so where is all this money, all this brain power, actually taking us? It's leading to a future that could be completely reshaped by this technology. We're talking about creating value that might not be measured in billions, but in trillions. And the experts kind of see this future rolling out in 3 main stages. First, in the very near term, we're talking the next 5 years or so, we'll see the first real commercial uses pop up, probably in finance and drug discovery. Then, we'll move into a phase of broader, more complex problem solving. And then, the final stage, universal quantum computers just become a normal part of our everyday infrastructure.
And once we get there, the economic impact could be just immense. Some of the high-end estimates are projecting that quantum computing could create up to $850 billion in new value every single year by 2040. But you have to ask, right? Where does a number that massive even come from?
Well, that value comes from basically turning entire industries on their head. We're talking about being able to design life-saving drugs molecule by molecule, creating AI that's so powerful we can't even imagine it yet, optimizing the entire global financial market, even building cybersecurity that is literally unbreakable. That's the promise that's driving all of this investment. So with that kind of potential on the table, it's no surprise that investors are paying very close attention. So if you're curious about this space, what are the main ways you can actually get exposure to the quantum sector?
It really boils down to three main avenues you can go down. First, you can invest directly in what are called pure play companies. These are firms that do nothing but quantum tech. Second, you can back the established tech giants, the ones with super deep pockets for R&D. Or third, you can spread your risk around through what are called exchange-traded funds, or ETFs.
And each of these paths, as you can imagine, comes with a totally different level of risk and potential reward. You've got the super-focused, high-risk, high-reward pure-play stocks like IonQ. Then you've got the relative stability of a giant like Alphabet. And then there's the broader, more diversified approach of an ETF like QDUM.
Okay, but let's be really clear about something. Whenever you hear about high potential reward, you should immediately be thinking about high risk. And believe me, the quantum sector is absolutely no exception.
So let's look at the reward side first. The potential upside can be incredible. I mean, take a leading pure-play stock like IonQ. After some good news came out, its value shot up by almost 46% in a single month. That's the kind of insane gain that gets investors really excited.
But here's the other side of that exact same coin. That very same stock also cratered by nearly 50% in a different month, basically wiping out all those gains and then some. This right here perfectly illustrates the extreme, stomach-churning volatility you have to be ready for in a market this new.
And it's not just about the stock price swinging all over the place. You've got to consider the very real technological hurdles that are still there. I mean, there's no guaranteed date for when these companies will actually be profitable on a wide scale. We could still be a decade or more away. And in the meantime, they need just massive amounts of cash to keep the lights on and the research going.
So how do investors even try to manage all that risk? Well, a really common strategy is good old-fashioned diversification. This sample portfolio here gives you an idea. You might anchor your investment with more stable, established tech giants, and then you allocate smaller chunks to those higher-risk pure-play companies and ETFs. The whole goal is to try and balance that stability with the crazy high growth potential of the sector.
So, what's the bottom line here? It's this. Quantum computing is, without a doubt, on a path to becoming a world-changing technology. The potential is massive and it's very real. But, and this is a big but, for anyone looking to invest in that future, it's going to be a long, bumpy ride, one that's filled with both incredible opportunity and very significant risk.
So for now, just understanding this new frontier is the most important first step. The real key for anyone watching this space is to adopt a long-term perspective, to be honest about the risks and rewards, and to just stay informed, because you're looking at what might just be the next great technological leap.